you're getting it going. So sorry I'm
Oh,
a
no,
minutes late.
no worries at all, Coach. Our first two questions will come from Mike Griffith and Anthony Dasher.
Okay.
Yeah, Coach, what have you worked on, or how do you prioritize, I guess, trying to get this team to mesh with 10 newcomers this year?
Oh, I think it's a daily process. And I think that's the most important thing, is that you go in with a plan each day, be ready to adjust the plan, try to learn each other best you can as coaches. But the most important thing is for them to learn each other as players. And that's where the chemistry gets built. And so they've done a great job of working, building togetherness, being in here when they don't have to be in here. And now it's just a matter of building that level of playing together over a period of time. And hopefully those kind of things mesh for us.
Hey, Coach, good to see you today. So, something I've been meaning to ask you, when you have so many, spots to fill in your roster like you did last year and in such a relatively short amount of time, did you ever feel rushed in trying to scour the portal, find the right players, or were you able to be meticulous enough for your assistant coaches to find those right players, right matches to fill this program?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And a great example is, I think it's all about how it fits, right? And you got to do the best job you can. Now, there were point guards that were available. We knew even if Severe was back and when the season ended, we fully expected him to be, that we were going to take another point guard, because we weren't just going to play the way we played last year and have those kind of turnovers. And we were going to have to be a better shooting team. So we did miss out on a couple of guys, one that I really felt we would have gotten, who's going to be a starter in a power conference league right now. But at the end of the day, then you end up with Aaron Cook. And we've been extremely happy and fortunate to have him. So recruiting never really stops, and it never really stopped during the portal. So it's just part of it. And you just have to continue to move forward. But the last thing you want to do, and this is where high school recruiting kicks in a big way, you do not want to settle based on just filling scholarships. You've got to get talent. You've got to get people that can be multi-dimensional. The maturity aspect on this team is such a huge deal. So we have a pretty good blend of older and younger. You've got to keep making sure that you're looking at that, and you just navigate the waters as they come. And that's exactly what this offseason was like. And I'm really proud of the way these guys have come into Georgia. They've come in excited to be at Georgia, and they come in really, really working hard for Georgia.
Next to Catherine Lewis and then Chip Towers.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you what the focus was in terms of FIU this week. What have y'all seen that they're good at, and what will pose a challenge tomorrow night?
They're very, very much a high octane offense. They shot 33 threes a game last year. They made 10 and a half. They're very efficient. They've got bona fide shooters. They're going to put 3 to 4 3-point shooters on the floor at all times. I think the biggest thing we've got to do is control penetration so that it does not create an overhelp type of situation in the game because of the way they shoot the ball. I told my team over the weekend, I mean, they're phenomenal at making one more pass. And so, and when we were really good on Friday night, we were very good at that. So that's the difference. And we've got to control the penetration to not allow that as easily. And then defensively, they're going to come at us with pressures. And whether it's full court, man-to-man, zone pressures, run and jump is one of their staples. They're very, very good at that and trying to get that trap that you're not ready for. They can mix their defenses man and zone. So they're a deep team. They can go very, very big. They've added transfers, and at the same time, they have very good veterans that have played well for them.
Yeah, Coach, obviously the situation that you inherited this year is not unique to you. It's across the SEC and college basketball. I know you've been in the game for a long time and love the game. Is there anything that college basketball can do for more stability, or is it just the way it is and just the way it's going to be?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to change even more. I mean, this is the first year of the portal, but everybody has to remember, and I know some people on here have heard this before, or maybe heard it from me, but we were given the statistic that last year in the SEC, there were scholarship players. There were only 14 players that finished where they started in the SEC that were scholarship players and 4 of them were at the University of Alabama. So it's not like this wasn't coming. It's not like it hasn't been different. But as I tell our team, as I tell our coaches all the time, as we go through this, everything's changing, right? Name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, how easy it is to leave, all those types of things. The bottom line is what hasn't changed is what it takes to win and what will cause you to lose. And you've got to be locked into that every day. You've got to be locked into it with your scheme. You got to be locked into it with how you play and address your team, how you pace your team, but how your team has got to understand what those components are. And we work very, very hard. And it's obviously different. And it's more of a challenge when you have so many new guys. And when you go out and you play guys that not only weren't in the SEC last year, but have never started a game in the SEC. So those things are different, but that's what the growth process is about every day. And we've been very, very good in that area. And that doesn't mean we don't have bad days, but we recover pretty quick because we've got a lot of really serious-minded, mature young people that not only practice hard and study the game and are doing a good job in school, but they're in the gym and they're working at getting better when they don't have to be.
Okay, let's go to Mark Weiser and then Palmer Toms.
Tom, when you're recruiting players that are in the transfer portal, beyond knowing whether they're the type of player you want, how much time do you have to kind of pinpoint whether they're the type of people you want to get to know them and their families, particularly with a guy like Jalen, who's from just down the road, his family?
Well, it's harder. There's no question it's harder, and Zoom made it harder. It'll be interesting to see what happens. There's some coaches that would like legislation to change so that you can't go visit the transfer portal people. I don't know how that's gonna transpire as we go down the line. There's a lot of trial and error. There's risk reward, and you want to make phone calls. You want to study a lot of film. As I tell the coaches all the time, it doesn't matter if you're recruiting somebody in the transfer portal or if you're recruiting somebody in high school. You got to get the people that are off script, right? It's so easy to tell somebody what they want to hear, to give you passive aggressive behavior and paint a picture that's not realistic. You got to get people that are off script in a good way and in a bad way, because that's where you really find out. And then there's also when you get face to face, which obviously we weren't able to do. When you get face to face, now you start to get your instincts going. And you can use your instincts to a degree, when you're watching film. You can use your instincts when you're on Zoom. You can use your instincts when you're talking to people. But when you get face to face with somebody, whether it's in a meeting or whether it's practice or a game, now you start to get your instincts back. And that's what's been interesting. And with that said, I mean, it's been much more of a selective process for us, not only in the portal, but in high school recruiting, because there's a whole new wave of recruiting coming. And the bottom line, it doesn't matter if they're coming in from a transfer situation or from the high school situation. What works is, number one, you've got to have a level of maturity. It doesn't mean an 18 or 19-year-old is going to be as mature as the 22, 23-year-old, but there's got to be an upside, a level of maturity. Number two, there's got to be an edge to them. There's got to be an edge, a competitive edge to their game. And number three, you've got to make sure that you believe that they can be efficient because they have been efficient before. And I think when you can put those factors in it, then it gives you a chance to take some of the guesswork out.
Coach, when you bring in transfers from programs like Virginia, Gonzaga, USC that have been successful, how do you push those guys to maybe, have some of the winning culture that they've been around rub off on your program and the players that they're around now?
Well, you mentioned some that have won and some that they had a lot of talent. Aaron Cook has come in and done a great job because he was at Southern Illinois and he was at Gonzaga, so he's got that winning background. But there's also places that you'd be surprised, right? And that's part of it. And I don't think you make any assumptions when you bring somebody in. I think you bring them in for the vision that you have for them. Not only what their skill level is right now, what they'd like to accomplish, but you have to have a vision for them. And I think the biggest mistake you can make is it's like when you hire somebody new and you think, oh, wow, they're going to be, and I've had this happen in the past in my career, not lately, but I've had it happen, is you think you're bringing somebody from a program and you realize, wait a minute, they weren't doing close to what you thought they were doing. And it's the same thing with players. But it really comes down to who they are individually. And when you get with them, you don't assume anything. You build on where they're at. You meet them where they're at. I think that's really, really important. Now, meeting them where they're at does not necessarily mean we're going to stay there, because I think when you meet them where they're at, now you've got to start to bring it up and ramp it up and see what they're capable of, whether it comes from mental toughness standpoint, the physicality of the game, the learning standpoint, stability, durability, all those types of things. So you're trying to figure out how they are, not only in a learning situation, but how they are in a pressure situation. So with that being said, sometimes the guys that have been in successful programs, they have a better understanding of that. But that doesn't mean that the guys that haven't been can't get there. So I think those are the key things you have to look at and you can't make assumptions. Now, you do like to, in high school, especially, and when you recruit in the portal, you do like to recruit people that have won. In high school, we like to recruit people that have won year round. And if they haven't won year round, then let's figure out the reason why. And you base those things in your decision making. But when you bring them in, yes, you want them to bring what they know. You also want to impact them with what we have here. But really, your culture comes down to how people treat each other on a daily basis, the mutual respect that they build, and how accountable you can hold them to get better.
All right, let's wrap up today with Ryan Curley, and then one quick follow-up from Mike Griffith.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing today? It's good to see you.
You too.
So I know it's early, but what have you been kind of getting out of their identity as a team? I know it's a new team that's still gelling. What have you seen so far as what their identity might be, and what do you want out of them?
Well, I think what we have to be a ball movement team. We have to be tremendous at throwing the ball ahead. And that's going to be really, really, there were times last year that we threw it ahead. There were times last year we held the ball too long, and we're going through that now, but we've got to get the ball thrown ahead. And I think because we have shooting and we have so many good shooters, potentially, we're going to get better. So it's not getting down when we don't make a shot. Like I said the other night, I'm not down about the misses. I'm down about our footwork and spacing and how close we were to the college line. Like, we have got to continue to understand how to utilize spacing. So I think getting the ball up the floor, utilizing the spacing, getting the ball reversed, being a quick passing team, getting really, really good on the offensive glass. And then what we're going to have to do, not only make the threes, but we're going to have to cut the turnovers down. And defensively, we've got to be a 5-man transition defensive team that becomes hard to score against initially, and a 5-man rebounding team. And along the way, we've got to have really good awareness in our help defense. We've got to have very solid containment, ball pressure wise. We want to be active on and off the ball, but that rebounding aspect, when that shot goes up, is going to be absolutely crucial, because we're not a huge team. We have some size, but we're not a huge team. And we've got to make sure that we do a really, really good job of having all 5 people in there.
Coach, just kind of going back to the way basketball has changed, you mentioned the NIL, and I'll admit I had a curiosity about this. Ty Washington at Kentucky, I don't think that Athens has a Porsche dealership. How do you compete in that NIL world?
If we did, Anthony Dasher would have one. So, we know that. So. And Mark Weiser might have one too. So.
How do you compete against that when Kentucky players?
Yeah, I can't even. It's let's just see how it all goes. I mean, that's the only thing I could even say about that. I mean, it's so amazing, these situations and the deals. And again, we're having conversations, and I know our players have conversations. Let's just see how it all goes. And I don't have an answer to that. I really don't. And we just got to take a look. And I'm not as worried about the Porsche deal for Ty Washington as I am the fact that John Calipari's done a really good job, with players and teams over the years. Those are the things that are more concerning than that. But we're just going to have to read it as it goes. And hopefully there'll be a lot more clarity and view of how it's going to go as you go through, the next couple of years with all this. I mean, it's unprecedented, right? There's a lot of unprecedented aspects in college sports right now. So we just have to do our best, focus on what it takes to win, control the controllables, and be aggressive where we can in those areas. And if we can't, we just read it and see, where we can make up some ground.
Coach Crean, thanks for your time, and good luck in tomorrow's game.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.